Arirang Special.
지식은 힘입니다. 지식은 공유할 때 더욱 세집니다. 그 대표적인 것이 그라민은행입니다. 1973년 한 경제학자가 책에서 나와서 빈민가로 향했습니다. (3년) 동안 500명의 방글라데시 빈민들이 150달러의 무보증 신용 대출금으로 다른 인생을 살기 시작했습니다. 그리고 본격적인 그라민은행이 세워졌죠. 지금 그라민은행은 전 세계 빈민 구제의 대표적인 모델입니다. 저는 그라민은행의 성공 요인이 지식의 나눔에 있었다고 생각합니다. 지식을 현실로 끌어내고 나누고 키우는 것, 이것이 KSP의 지향점입니다. KSP는 잘 사는 지구촌을 위해 대한민국이 보태는 동력입니다. 우리는 지식 나눔의 힘을 믿습니다.
The miracle Korea has accomplished in the past 50 years now connects Korea to the world. Last August, Uzbek representatives visited Korea for a KSP project. 15 delegates came, and the size of the group was the largest it had ever been. As the first KSP partner, Uzbekistan has been with Korea for the past 10 years. They applied for the KSP again this year.
저희가 그 원하시는 토픽에 대해서 다양하게 프로그램을 준비했으니까 좋은 결과 많이 얻어가시기 바랍니다.
They have high expectations.
bundan tashqari bizlarda ko'p byudjet islohotlari o'tkazilyapti. O'sha islohotlar bo'ylab bu yerdagi nimalarni taqqoslash bizning asosiy maqsadimiz hisoblanadi.
They visited the Ministry of Strategy and Finance as soon as they arrived. This is a training program provided by the ministry.
90년대 중반이 외환 위기로 한번 크게 저희 한국 경제가 어려웠던 적이 있고 또 한번 2008년에 글로벌 금융 위기로
Uzbekistan continues to participate in KSP because of the valuable know-how they can gain. They were once again fully satisfied.
의료보험료도 있고 밑에 보시면 국민연금도 보험료를 따로 걷습니다. 텍스 외에도 이런 사회보험료라고 그러는데.
The demand for social welfare has grown in Uzbekistan lately. It is natural considering the growing income. What process would it go through now? They visited KDI Memorial Hall for the answer. Uzbek visitors were interested in the history of Korea's development the most. It is a tool with which to predict their future. As such, they work hard to study and collect data. There were two core factors in Korea's miraculous economic success. One was the leadership with tremendous drive, and the other was KDI, the think tank that represented economic policy directions. Such knowledge is shared through KSP.
O'zbekistonda mana shu KSP programmasining Navoiy erkin industrial zonada olib borgan ishlari, elektron hukumatni tashkil qilishda olib borgan ishlari, bularning hammasi bizda hozirgi kunda o'zining ijobiy natijalarini beryapti. Tajribalarimizni oshirdik va jumladan mana shu KDI mana bu nimasi biz, ya'ni Koreya taraqqiyot institutning ishlari bilan tanishdik.
The past 50 years of Korea is what makes KSP so attractive. After the Korean War ended in 1953, Korea was one of the poorest countries in the world.
우리는 완전히 참 초토화된 그런 상황에서 경제 발전할 때인데 그때는 뭐 우리 소득이라는 게 100불도 훨씬 못 미쳤고.
The phrase "give me chocolate" shows what it was like back then. Korea's economy was in the same state. Korea couldn't have survived without the aid from the US in the 1950s.
우리가 나라 예산을 편성하는데 미국이 우리한테 원조를 얼마 주느냐 하는 것을 알지 못하면은 나라 살림을 꾸밀 수가 없었어요. 공무원 봉급도 못 주고 학교도 못 짓고. 그래서 우리는 오랫동안 원조를 받고 커나온 경제입니다.
Flour provided as aid assuaged the Korean people's hunger. There could be no future for a country surviving on aid.
뭘 갖다가 만들어 가지고 만들어야 소득이 느는 거고 농산물은요 아무리 잘하더라도 어떤 나라도 1년에 2~3% 이상 더 소득을 올릴 재주가 없습니다. 돈 있나 이거예요. 그 공정지으려면 무슨 돈 있노? 돈 뭐 빌 수 있단 말이지. 빌려와야지. 그 당시에 누가 우리나라에 돈 빌려주려고 합니까? 세상에.
Korea only had laborers to put up as collateral for a loan. The export of manpower, such as miners, is a leading example. The money they brought in became the foundation of Korea's economy. In the 60s, Korea actively accepted foreign aid in the form of loans to raise funds to develop industries. The money developed the industries that became the basis of Korea's economy. The 5-year economic development plan that began in 1962 was the blueprint. The fourth 5-year development plan goal was a growth rate of 9%.
어느 나라든 뭐 경제개발 5개년 계획이다, 뭐 7개년 계획이다. 그런 개발 정책은 어느 나라나 만들 수 있다고 봅니다. 정책 수립은 뭐 어려운 게 아니죠. 모방하면 되고. 근데 문제는 어떻게 그 수립된 정책을 집행하느냐, 실천하느냐, 이게 이제 중요한 것이죠.
The government innovated the way it distributed the aid goods. For instance, villagers had to return the burlap bags after using the cement in order to receive the same amount of cement again. By doing this, the aid goods that had been disappearing along the way were finally delivered wholly to the people and work sites. More cement was given to villages that worked hard. Consequently, the effectiveness of the policies was maximized. This was the hidden success factor.
여기저기서 이제 성공 사례가 나오니까 이제 그것이 이제 막 확산이 되고 그걸 집행하는 이제 공무원들도 이제 그 체제에 적응을 하게 되고 그걸 또 하다 보니까 이제 국민들도 정부의 어떤 정책 개입에 대해서 신뢰를 갖게 되고 그런 상호 그 상승이죠 선순환 그 구조가 돼서 결국은 우리가 다른 후진국에서 시도하다가 다 실패했던 우리가 이제 경제 도약이 가능했다. 특히 대규모 원조 자금을 받았음에도 불구하고
Korea was the first country to succeed using aid as a stepping stone.
단순히 한국의 가장 최신 경험을 공유하면서 성공한 경험뿐만 아니라 한국이 실패한 경험까지 같이 공유를 하면서
Korea's know-how on putting policy into practice is shared through KSP. K stands for knowledge, S for sharing, and P for program. It is a program for sharing knowledge. Since KSP launched in 2004, it has been the center of the Korean wave for knowledge for the past 10 years.
올해 우즈벡하고도 이제 4개의 주제로 2014년 KSP가 진행될 예정으로
KSP began in 2004 with 2 countries, but by 2013 it has grown 30 times to 59 countries. For the past 10 years, the accumulated number of countries helped is 175. The business subjects number 734. Such success is brought on by KSP's principle that enhances knowledge transference with supplement and cooperation.
Koreyaning yaxshi ijobiy natijalarini boshqa davlatlar bilan bo'lishish va shuning bilan bir qatorda erishilgan yutuqlar bilan bir qatorda nima deydi xatoliklar yoki boshqa narsalarni o'sha boshqa davlatlarga bilan bo'lishish.
The Uzbek visitors gave KDI a gift. It is the traditional costume of Uzbekistan. It is the symbol of the friendship that they shared through KSP for the past 10 years, and the relationship they will share for years to come. Uzbekistan is the black pearl of Central Asia that spans from the Aral Sea to the Pamirs. It is a Muslim country with the Islamic culture that was introduced in the 8th century. Timur, who unified Central Asia in the 14th century and founded his kingdom in Samarkand, is Uzbekistan's best hero. Amir Timur Museum is located at the center of Tashkent. It opened in 1996 to commemorate the 660th anniversary of Timur's birth. It showcases relics of Amir Timur, the conqueror of Central Asia. The Timurid Empire ranged from Shymkent, Kazakhstan, to Delhi, India, and Baghdad, Iraq. It was a neutral zone between the East and the West. Peace brought trade between the East and the West, and Samarkand was at the center of it all. The history of the Silk Road is still the pride of Uzbekistan. The Afrashiab mural was created around the 7th century. It depicts 12 foreign ambassadors who came here to meet the then king of Sogdia.
taalluqli bo'lgan ikki kishi tasvirlangan. Ularning yuz tuzilish, keyin kiyingan kiyimlari koreyslarga xos. Chunki masalan ularning bosh kiyimining mana bu qismida tepasida ikkita nimadan iborat.
The restoration of the painting showed Samarkand officials, an interpreter, and 2 ambassadors from Goguryeo at the end of the parade wearing feathered hats. They are the same Goguryeo people in the Goguryeo 2 murals. The docent led us to a painting saying she wanted to show us something.
And the wall, yeah.
Do you see Korean?
A Goguryeo person is in this scene of the Samarkand market, the crossroad of the Silk Road.
They came to Samarkand by Silk Road. They came by camels. Usually you can see there in the market, in bazaar.
Even 1,000 years ago, this place was the trading venue where Korea exchanged goods and culture with others. The history continues through KSP in the 21st century. Korean counterparts visited Tashkent to undertake the KSP project in Uzbekistan. They're here to specifically discern what the Uzbek government wants. The projects are about insurance and e-government.
역사라는 게 참 재미있는 게 저희는 사실은 상업이라는 그 경제 이런 게 한 제대로 된 역사 한 100년 정도 된다 그러면 여기는 수천 년 있는 나라에 와서 저희가 KSP를 하고 있다는 게 참 이 역사의 그 점 여기가 가장 큰 취약점 내륙국이라는 점입니다. 그래서 해안이 없으니까 그러니까 뭔가 뭐를 하나 외국에 수출을 하려 그러면은 다른 나라의 철도도 거쳐야 되고 이러다 보니까 이제 물류 비용이 굉장히 높다는 점이 좀 안 좋고.
Uzbekistan is a landlocked country. Like the Silk Road, the land route is its most important means of transportation. But the land routes have limits in this day and age. Navoy has recently come under the spotlight in Uzbekistan. 1,000 years ago, it was an oasis where merchants with 500 camels used to stop by. Navoy is the home of Alisher Navoy, a writer who represents the Uzbeks, and the place has recently entered a new era. Navoy International Airport stands in the middle of an empty field. It is the gateway to Navoy Free Industrial Economic Zone. A Korean airplane just landed here. It is a cargo plane carrying electronics exported by Korea. A Korean airline currently operates Navoy International Airport. It should be noted that it is not just a simple capital investment, but part of the KSP project, sharing know-how on airport construction and operation. As such, the two governments have high expectations on this project.
이 비행기가 지금 인천에서 하노이에 와서 다시 나고에 와서 비엔나로 가는데 여기서 내리는 짐들이 인도 델리나 그다음에 아랍에미레이트 두바이로 관적되어 갑니다. 그다음에 여기서 지금 어제 들어와 있는 델리에서 온 짐이 다시 여기서 실려서 비엔나나 밀라노로 가기 때문에 그러니까 환적을 한다는 그런 개념으로 허브라고 저희가 이야기를 합니다.
There is a separate terminal where cargo is kept at the Navoy airport. The cargo heading to Central Asia is transported via the railways right in front of the terminal.
This rail is connecting our Central Asia with another countries. For example, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. This hub is the main, I think it's the biggest hub in the Central Asia, which connecting the Europe and Asia countries.
정확하게 기억은 안 나는데 아마 부총리인가 대통령께서 그 방한을 하셨을 때 이제 나보이 얘기를 많이 했고요. 그러다 보니까 이제 KSP를 통해서 한번 이거를 해보는 건 어떻겠느냐를 이제 저희 정부 쪽에서 이제 제안을 했습니다.
In 2009, an investment presentation on Navoy Free Industrial Economic Zone was held in Seoul.
И надеюсь на плодотворное сотрудничество с ведущими компаниями Республики Корея.
A blueprint was presented at the event that showed a win-win strategy involving Uzbekistan's rich resources and Korea's development experiences.
Создание свободной индустриальной экономической зоны в Узбекистане является первым проектом подобного рода, и поэтому нам очень важно было выбрать грамотную профессиональную компанию, которая могла бы обеспечить успех этого дела. Корея – это наш первый шаг, и это наш стратегический партнер.
예, 저희들이 2008년 10월달에 화물 터미널 텄닦기 하는 시작한 장면입니다.
A miracle has begun in the desert.
완전히 무에서 유를 청정할까 상정 벽해가 된 거죠 지금은 솔직히.
Navoy Airport began to change from a small landlocked airport to a Central Asian hub. The construction was difficult. They lacked manpower and equipment. Villagers from far away built it brick by brick. The construction began in 2008, and the first infra-construction plan was completed this year. Soon, they will begin the development plan. Currently, Uzbekistan Airways operates in Navoy Airport. The airport aims to become a modern Silk Road key point. They built the largest cargo facility in Central Asia to achieve this, and handled 35,000 tons of cargo this year.
As you know, since the independence of Uzbekistan, Uzbekistan has been growing its friendship with other countries, especially with Korea. So Navoy Airport has made Uzbekistan the logistic hub of the Central Asia.
가장 중요한 것이 뭔가면요, 이제 이게 한국과 유럽을 가는 데잖아요. 딱 중간입니다, 이게. 여기를 짐을 모았다가 인구가 뿌려주고 아니면 인구가의 비중을 모아가지고 또 다른 데 갈 수 있고 그래서 아주 지리적으로 아주 강점을 갖고 있습니다. 앞으로 나보이런 이제 물허브 구축이 완성이 되게 되면 저희들이 이제 신성장 동력을 이제 확보할 수 있다는 그런 이제 큰 이제 기대를 가지고 지금.
When the large cold storage facilities and the aviation fuel storage facilities are completed as planned, the airport will fulfill the criteria for an airline hub. Navoy plans to reenact the glory of the Silk Road using KSP as the stepping stone. When the former Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Uzbekistan, the center of the Silk Road, regained its name. The CIS was created when the Soviet Union fell. As with the other members of CIS, Uzbekistan became independent as an ethnic group. Among the population, 8 out of 10 are Uzbeks. Currently, the Korean wave is quite strong in Uzbekistan. This is Tashkent Korean Education Center. A group of Uzbek children are headed to the basement. They are regular Uzbek teenagers. Their current #1 interest is K-pop. They formed a team and practice once a week.
저는 정레나라고 합니다. 정레나라고 합니다.
저는 자수르입니다.
저는 김가짜라고 해요.
김가짜라고
합니다.
가짜, 진짜 가짜.
우리나라에서 가짜 이거 뜻이 좀 달라요. 이거 깨끗한 뜻이에요.
우리는 지겨웠습니다. 원래 내년이었어요. 지금 우리 이번 주 넘버는 경험학생으로 한국 갔어요.
They are just as well informed about K-pop and dancing as any Korean teenager.
Мы первые прыгаем.
А мы вниз.
А вы первые, когда начнется, вы садитесь, потом
все.
Their goal is to participate in the K-pop cover team competition and win the trophy.
우리 여기 K-love 국제에 있으니까 우리 공연 만들고 싶어서 그래서 우리 모였어요.
K-pop에서 1등 그랜프리?
난 그냥 내게 기대고만 싶어. 기대고 싶어.
They even hold their meetings at a Korean restaurant. Some are ethnic Koreans and some are Uzbeks. Korea is the latest trend and an object of admiration to them. As such, they're all fluent in Korean.
안녕하세요. 우즈벡 가족을 보면 한국 가족이랑 부모의 효도 비슷한 점이 엄청
정서가 문화가
우리 할머니, 할아버지 옛날에 한국에서 여기 왔었어. 역사도 문화도 한국 다 같이 있었어.
The roots of the Korean wave in Uzbekistan go back 100 years. Kim Pen Pha Museum is located an hour away from Tashkent. It is a popular spot among Korean tourists. It's because it holds the remnants of early ethnic Koreans. The ethnic Koreans moved to Uzbekistan in 1937 from the Russian Far East. They were deported here by Stalin. When they got here, they built collective farms. They picked out stones and built waterways by hand.
술을 뺄적이 겨울에 추운데 빼면 사람들이 병들어 돌아가신 사람들 있고 많이 고생했죠. 흙은 매서 저기 지금 여기서는 미시랑감 강차이라 해요. 그게 러시아 이름은 로빠따지. 근데 우리 고려인들은 그거 어떻게 말할 줄 몰라서 각차라. 그래 강차이 됐다요. 각차 이렇게 꾹 눌러 그 강차이란 거 그걸로 가지고 지금 파서 흙을 지기에 매내서 수로를 만들어. 그 수로는 피물수로라 해요. 고래인 피물수로.
Ethnic Korean kolkhoz was not just a workplace. Their whole lives, including education, happened there. Ethnic Koreans were especially enthusiastic about education. These strangers to the land built the legend of kolkhoz with their diligence and education.
어째 오래 어제 있는 거고 들어가.
다 고려인들이에요?
이게 내 교실이요. 안녕하십니까? 들어오지.
안녕하십니까?
안녕하십니다.
This is the free Korean class that Miss Amelia runs.
한국 배우기 많이 싶어해요. 지금 그리고 부모들, 어시들 보내죠. 한국어 배우라. 근데 돈 많이 받고 하죠.
She began the classes to teach Korean to ethnic Korean children. But these days, all the neighborhood kids attend. The Korean wave in Uzbekistan has brought on a trend for Korean education, and this provincial area is no exception.
나비야 나비야 이리 나라 오너라. Я корейский поваром хочу быть.
Вот это слово пишите. 우리 читаем. 우리.
The collective spirit that emphasizes us, not I. This birthed the miracle of kolkhoz and is the spiritual root of KSP. Uzbekistan has not fully discarded the socialist economic system yet, but they began to grow rapidly when an emphasis was put on economic development. Especially after 2008, they continued to record a high growth rate of 8% thanks to export of raw materials, modernization of industry, and investment on infra. Its per capita income grew to $3,500 from $1,700 10 years ago. The change can be seen by the increased number of cars on the road. There are more than 3 million cars in Uzbekistan now. Most of the cars are concentrated in Tashkent. But the problem is the increasing number of car accidents. Although the government made the automobile insurance subscription compulsory in 2008, it has not settled yet. Theirs is a situation similar to Korea in the 80s. The Uzbek government commissioned this problem to KSP, and the demand research began early this year.
разработанные совместно с нашими коллегами.
내가 잘못이 없어도 자동차 소유하고 있다는 그 사실만으로도 내가 배상 책임이 주체가 돼야 되는 이제 그 무과실 책임주의라는 그런 그 책임법제를 저희가 만들어놨거든요. 그런데 이제 지금 우즈벡이 그런 법제인지 아닌지.
Although the car insurance is compulsory, it still takes too long to handle accidents because there is no network between the police and hospitals. The main issue for the Uzbek government is how to build such social networks. As such, they wish to know Korea's system and experiences.
어떤 자료가 가구하는 부분에 대한 규정이 법으로 다 그 법령으로 규정이 돼 있어요. 그렇지 않으면 이게 움직일 수가 없습니다. 지금은 각 기관이 각각 자기들 목적으로 지금 DB를 관리하고 있기 때문에 그 링크키가 없다면 링크키를 만들어줘야 되는 겁니다. 처음부터.
Поэтому, исходя из этих этапов, мы сперва поставили семинары, потом выработка предложений и на третьем, последнем этапе непосредственно реализацию.
KSP의 가장 중요한 부분은 이 제도 그리고 정책 이런 부분이에요. 그래서 KSP의 결과물이 뭐냐? 잡히는 게 없지 않냐? 다리도 없고 도로도 없고 이제 이런 말씀들을 많이 할 수 있습니다. 대신에 제도와 법이 있어요. 제도와 법은 잘 만져지진 않지만 그 나라 사람들의 행동과 사고를 결정지을 수 있는 아주 중요한 뼈대입니다.
The Uzbek government also requested a KSP project on e-government.
저희가 6월 이후 5개월 동안 추진하였던 우즈벡 컨설팅에 대해서 마지막 최종 보고를 앞두고 중간 보고를 드리도록 하겠습니다.
KLID, that conducted this KSP project, designed the blueprint by communicating with the Uzbek government, but it had not been easy from the beginning.
실질적으로 효과가 있었던 게 처음에는 사실 저희가 정부 디렉토리라든가 이런 기반 시스템에 대한 설명을 드려도 사실 구체하기가 지금 쉽지는 않습니다. 한국 사례라든가 이런 부분에 많이 설명을 드리고 하다 보니까 좀 흥미를 가지게 되시고 실제 한국에서 사용되고 있는 시스템 어떤 그 사례들을 또 데모를 통해서도 보여드렸고.
A picture speaks 1,000 words. An example of Korea's e-government system was presented. One example was Seoul Municipal Government's bus arrival notice system. What's more, the data on the traffic flow of the buses are gathered at the Traffic Information Center in Seoul City Hall.
이곳은 서울 시내 교통 상황을 한 곳에서 볼 수 있는 서울시 교통정보센터 상황실입니다. 네, 그렇습니다. 예. 저희 버스를 이용하는 시민들이 제일 많이 볼 수 있는 시설인데요. 이게 버스 정보 안내 단말기 BIT라는 단말기입니다. 지금 현재 1,700여 개 설치되어 있습니다. 예.
It is the same with the 119 system that operates 24 hours.
환자가 남자분이세요, 여자분이세요?
전화 이동하셔야 됩니다. 번호 불러주시면 어쨌든 위치를 정확하게 되니까. 아니요, 또 있어요. 또 강남 성심.
All 119 calls are gathered, registered, and handled in real time at the 119 call center of Seoul Emergency Operations Center.
전복 사고 지금 구조된 데 있잖아요. 차 한 대 더 보내면
The calls are directed to a nearby fire station. The vehicles to be mobilized are designated. This is an online system. 2014 Global E-Government Forum was held in Kazakhstan last October. There is a reason why Korea's system is under the spotlight.
The first place winner is the Republic of Korea.
At the UN E-Government Survey 2014, held alongside the forum, Korea ranked first. The world took notice of Korea again. It was a success befitting an IT powerhouse.
이 상패도 상장 3개 부분, 5개 부분 중에서 3개 부분을 받았습니다.
뭐죠?
우선 전 세계 종합 1위, 그리고 아시아 1위, 그다음에 온라인 참여 지수 1위. 우리 대한민국이 3개 부분에 1위를 했습니다.
For 3 years in a row since 2010, Korea ranked #1 in Global E-Government Survey. E-government refers to the system that provides speedy administrative services to people by utilizing ICT to enhance efficiency. KSP workers visited the Uzbek Ministry for Development of Information Technologies and Communications for a demand survey on e-government.
But you know already my contact details.
Yes, of course.
Car insurance or e-government system are just a few social systems Uzbekistan must construct in the future. Uzbekistan learned through KSP that this is just the first step.
И там указаны основные приоритетные проекты, направления, направленные на развитие системы правительства. И поэтому, конечно, это является одним из основных направлений, и они были включены в список предложений.
우리는 사실은 어떻게 보면 산업화가 거의 끝나서 80년도 초반에 정보화로 돌아섰거든요. 그래서 산업하고 정보화의 갭이 꽤 짧았지만 여기는 산업하고 정보화가 지금 완전히 겹쳐 있는 상태였잖아요. 그러니까 거꾸로 산업화를 하면서 시설을 만들 때 정보화 기술을 이용을 해서 함께하면 시간을 훨씬 더 단축될 수 있을 거라는 거죠.
가장 중요한 거는 그냥 거칠애적인 수사학적인 만남이 아니고 정말 진심으로 신뢰가 형성이 되고 우정이 생기는 건데 이 KSP를 하게 되면은 바로 그러한 게 형성이 됩니다. 그러한 신뢰 위에서 네트워크가 구축이 되기 때문에 아주 가까운 친구같이 되고, 또 우리가 우리의 이익을 내세우는 게 아니고 그 나라의 주인의식을 존중을 하고 그 나라가 원하는 것을 같이 도와주고 공유하는 이러한 형태로 나가기 때문에 같이 일을 하는 나라들의 입장에서 보면은 굉장히 좋은 프로그램이라고 생각을 하는 거죠.
This is Claremont Graduate University in California. Professor Zach is the creator of neuroeconomics. Neuroeconomics is the academic field that studies human behavior through physiological phenomenon analysis. Oxytocin is a leading material in the field.
And oxytocin is a highly adaptive molecule. So about a dozen years ago, my lab discovered that a chemical the brain makes called oxytocin facilitates positive interactions between individuals. So when one is shown trust, the brain produces oxytocin. The brain produced two interesting chemicals.
How does the secretion of oxytocin differ according to human emotions? Professor Zach looked at the changes in oxytocin before stress and after stress. He found out that oxytocin secretions decrease when stressed. However, the oxytocin level rose when subjects felt empathy.
And the more oxytocin they release, the more. And in that pair, one person gets a message saying,
Professor Zach clearly explained the effect of oxytocin using a $10 bill at a famous lecture.
to someone else in the lab.
This is a video of the test Professor Zach actually performed. When a person in front dropped the money, the person behind picked it up and quietly put it in his pocket. Is there no variable that can make this person make a moral choice? Professor Zach showed an attractive woman to the man before he picked up the money. When a person feels good, the secretion of oxytocin is supposed to rise. Instead of keeping the money he picked up, he returned it to the owner this time. The change was brought on by oxytocin. Professor Zach also studied the relationship between oxytocin and donation. He found out that oxytocin was secreted more when empathy rose, and the amount of donation also increased.
As my group showed in the early 2000s, that measures of interpersonal trust were the strongest predictors economists have ever found to understand why some countries are prosperous and some countries are poor. So in countries where trust is high, we have more social interaction, and some of those social interactions lead to economic transactions. So we focus so much on trust and the release of oxytocin to tell us exactly.
What about the relationship between oxytocin and trust? Professor Zach studied the changes in oxytocin secretion through blood tests, when there was trust and when there wasn't. He also studied the changes in the body.
Sensors we put on the torso and the hands get transmitted from these receivers on the wrist and the waist to these BioPack sensors.
First, they just curiously greeted each other in a formal atmosphere and began negotiation. Then, a change occurred.
So here we see actually part of this negotiation in which you can see this kind of arousal response. So we've seen in negotiations in which things are very conflictual.
Hello again. Hey, George. Hi, good to see you. Yes, please sit. Let's try to iron out.
This time, they greeted each other nicely and began the negotiation in a friendly atmosphere. They were told to put on kind expressions, friendly gestures, and make physical contact. The positive exchanges brought on totally different changes to the meeting. More oxytocin was secreted. Trust in the other rose with the increase in the oxytocin level. Trust brings changes to even our physical body. Such results can be applied to groups and intergroup relations.
So I think the traditional approach to ODA was almost a father-son approach, where the developed country was giving money to the less developed country And the problem with that approach is it doesn't build trust between them. So I'm very excited about Korea's KSP program because it inverts the traditional development assistance program where I'm telling you, the developed country, what to do as a less developed country. Provide the knowledge base, right? This worked in South Korea, it can likely work there, right? So I think taking a much more gradual approach that depends on building a relationship with that country organization is a much more likely successful program.
Let's look at Cambodia, that's been corresponding with Korea for the past 10 years through KSP. Cambodia has been changing noticeably for the past few years. The young labor force is behind the changes in Cambodia. Despite difficult and inconvenient commutes, people are full of energy. They look like Koreans did in the 70s. This is a sewing factory in Cambodia. It's a Korean company. Over 1,000 workers work here in 3 shifts. Unlike other factories, this one is large and clean. This is a result of various education programs carried out for the Cambodian employees.
글씨를 못 읽는 애들, 글씨를 못 읽는 공원이 거의 한 80%였습니다. 월급 명세서를 주면은 그걸 볼 줄은 몰랐습니다. 월급날만 되면 뭐 난리통이었습니다. 근데 지금은 거의 글씨를 못 읽는 애들이 5% 미만입니다.
Over 90% of employees who used to be illiterate have now graduated from middle school. By communicating with Korean people and working in a Korean company, they began to dream of a better life.
저는 유치원에 한 것을 꿈도 못 꿨습니다. 여기 애들은. 지금 유치원도 보냅니다. 월급 받아서. 이 나라는 이제 향후 5년에서 10년 사이에 많은 발전을 더 하겠구나. 그런 생각하고 있습니다.
This is a private academy that teaches Korean. The Korean language they learn here is a practical business language for jobs in Korean factories. They study Korean despite their poor environment in hopes that they may go to Korea someday. Goodwill toward Korea led to yearning for Korea, and then to the enthusiasm for Korean language studies. NPIC is Cambodia's National Institute of Technology. It is also the best in Cambodia. The school gate is filled with people this morning. They're here to check the list of people who passed the Korean language exam, which you must pass to work in Korea.
한 사람 한 국가가 되는 거 고시에 붙은 같은 기분입니다. 그게 우선 가면은 여기서는 상상도 못할 엄청난 액수의 봉급을 받는다. 그런 기대감. 한국 가는 게 저분들한테는 우리 저 60년대, 70년대 미국 가는 것만큼 참 경사예요.
NPIC changed much in the recent years. Education was one of the KSP projects, and changes began when it started to correspond with Korean colleges. There's good news for the morning assembly today. For the first time since the school opened, minority students will be training at a local Korean automobile factory. Cambodian kids' dream is to work in Korea or work at a Korean company. As such, the classes center on practical on-the-job training. This class is learning to make shelves and welding. Most of the classes are practical and have to do with machinery.
그 옛날에는 다 외국인들이 와서들 뭐 특히 베트남 사람들이 많이 와서 했었어요. 근데 지금은 그게 지금 거의 전부가 다 우리 학교 출신 사람들로다가 그게 대체가 됩니다. 이건 엄청난 변화입니다.
At NPIC, there are many instructors who are also alumni and have studied in Korea. Professor Arayut also received his master's in Korea and became a member of faculty. He could have earned $1,000 a month if he had gotten another job, but he chose this school with a monthly pay of $300 because he wanted to contribute to Cambodia's future. Professor Arayut always walks. He walks to and from his home that's 30 minutes away. The second floor of this house is Professor Arayut's home.
Is yours?
Yes. My bedroom. Yes. A small room. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, so hot.
So hot. It's from Hangide. Korean type.
Wait a second. Oh.
Yes. Dynamics. Yeah,
Professor Arayut studied cutting-edge mechanical engineering. Despite the difficult circumstances, he was able to study because of the scholarship for students from the third power countries. This is why he only has good memories of Korea.
We have a good memory together, as you know. We sit around the Korean tides, and sometimes we go to.
He learned what makes a miracle in Korea. It is his wish to plant the seeds of such a miracle in his country.
I work at a company to think about the salary. Yes, salary is right. Everyone want to get more salary, but for me, I choose NPIC. I think that I need to help my student. I need to help my people. If I work at a company, it's a finish for my student. I keep going to my goal, my dream.
Costa Rica is located in the southern region of Central America. It is a land blessed by nature that Columbus discovered in 1502. Despite being dominated by others such as Spain, Guatemala, and Mexico, it is now one of the richest countries in Central America, with a per capita income of $12,000. Last June at San Jose, the KSP team arrived to work. They came upon the request made by Costa Rica's Ministry of International Trade.
우리의 발전 경험이 과연 중남미에서도 적용이 가능할까?
This meeting was held to figure out how to expand exports in Central and South America. They invited KSP for a consultation.
And the knowledge sharing program has come to be a very important effort.
People here are also interested in Korea's know-how on economic development.
서로 이런 걸 했구나. 당신들이 이런 걸 배웠어?
KDP is a think tank.
KSP 사업으로부터 얻은 한국의 발전 경험을 서로 나누는 그런 모습이 저는 굉장히 저도 감동을 받았고요. 하나, 둘, 셋, 화이팅!
The miracle on the Hangang River is the masterpiece of industrialization.
So experiences in South Korea are probably, and the expertise and the intuition that's developed in South Korea is probably very transferable. Not only is it very transferable, the recipients are going to know how to use it very quickly.
This is something only Korea can do, because Korea knows what they need.
당대에서 성공한 정말 고생해서 나하고 똑같은 처지에 있는데 이 사람 그런 사람의 충고가 가슴에 와닿잖아요.
So I'm very excited to see how the KSP program works. So I think the key factor for the KSP program is going to be trust.
It's the power of sharing, not just simple giving.
여기서 가장 중요한 것은 진정성입니다. 한 손이 아니라 두 손으로 주는 진정한 파트너로서 단순한 지식 공유를 넘어 진심까지 공유하며 협력을 강화해 나간다면 KSP K 날리지는 자연스레 코리아의 K와 같은 의미가 될 것입니다.
KSP, the Knowledge Sharing Program, is the second miracle that Korea is now creating for the world.